So we're back with 2021. And today we're going to be having conversation 31. And we're going to be diving into the details of death, or death details. So the reason why we chose this topic was because of, recent events that happened within our family. We had someone pass from, I guess, the virus complications. So I guess we've seen, what happens, I guess. So, and how people grieve and things, paranormal things that happened after. So we kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that and but research-based information, I guess.
Yeah, research-based info.
So Eileen's gonna dive in to the stages of death or the stages of grief. Okay. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about some research that was done and what they found. So, yeah.
Yeah, so because we feel like death is tough, for everybody. It happens to everybody, but it's always tough and everyone always wants to understand why. That's always the question. Like why things happen and so that's why we just kind of want to get into it.
Yeah, because for us, like our recent experience, one of our family members, one of our uncles passed away, and it was due to complications of the COVID. So I don't know, it was kind of different, and kind of like we didn't really, it's still kind of like we don't believe it.
Yeah, it was very surreal.
Yeah. So we want to talk about that a little bit and see, because we were trying to incorporate that because that's, and it happened.
It's recent events.
Yeah. Okay, Lane, so what does death mean?
Yeah, so death is the end of life of a human or organism. Like it's just when your life comes to an end. And that's it, the state of being dead.
Okay.
So, and even this like scientific one, the permanent ending of vital processes in a cell or tissue.
Yeah, and so that's the scientific basis on death. Based on what I've researched and that I was trying to look up. So pretty much the hospital, the doctors will deem you dead once you have no vitals or you're permanent, like your brain is dead. But I wanted to dive a little bit into consciousness because there's no way that any or science can prove whether consciousness dies with the body. It's kind of complicated, I want to say, because people that have passed away, like when we talked about the near-death experiences, when people pass away, or people that get resuscitated or that come back after being dead have these amazing stories to tell. So the question is, does consciousness continue or does it deteriorate as we die?
Yeah.
I don't know. So Eileen's going to talk a little bit about the stages of after somebody passes. What do people go through?
Yeah, because it's different for everyone, as we all know.
Everybody grieves differently, yes.
Yeah, and like, I don't know, I just felt like it was a good moment to try to like understand.
Yeah.
So when you lose a loved one, the different stages of grief, there's 5, but there's, it just differs like what you're basing it off of. Like sometimes there's 7, but I just like, decided to do the 5.
Okay.
So stage 1 is denial. Okay. So this is a common defense mechanism and helps numb you to the intensity of the situation. As you move out of the denial stage, however, the emotions you've been hiding will begin to rise. You'll be confronted with a lot of sorrow you've denied. So I feel like that first stage, like denial,
you can't believe it.
Yeah, when you can't believe it, like, no, this didn't happen. Like, it's just not possible. So I feel like that's the mentality there. Stage 2 is anger. So where denial may be considered a coping mechanism, anger is a masking effect. Anger is hiding many of the emotions and pain that you carry. Anger may mask itself in feelings like bitterness or resentment. It may not be clear-cut fury or rage. Not everyone will experience this stage, and some may linger here. As the anger subsides, however, you may begin to think more rationally about what's happening and feel the emotions you've been pushing aside.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I feel like that's a common one, to feel like angry, like, why did this have to happen?
Yeah.
Or like even like resentment, like, why'd you have to leave? Like, why couldn't you like try
Be
to
here.
fight for yourself? Yeah, like to be here, or even mad at other people. You know, like if if you feel like, oh, you didn't even say sorry before he passed away or something, you know, like things like that. I feel like it's all like a part of anger. So stage 3 is bargaining. So during grief, you may feel vulnerable and helpless. In those moments of intense emotions, it's not uncommon to look for ways to regain control or to feel like you can affect the outcome of an event. In the bargaining stage of grief, you may find yourself creating a lot of what if and if only statements.
Yeah.
And bargaining is a line of defense against the emotions of grief. It helps you postpone the sadness, confusion, or hurt. So, so I think, yeah, the bargaining, like the what if, or like if only, I feel
I
like,
would have done this,
yeah,
or I would have. Okay.
like, you know, if this wouldn't have happened, if, you know, but like it's all, like, I feel like it's out of anyone's control.
Yeah.
You know, like what's gonna happen is gonna happen, and you can't stop it, you know, unfortunately. So so yeah, you're basically postponing like how you really feel, like your sadness. You're just kind of like, no, 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 let's think about how this could have changed so that this didn't happen, you know, so that it wouldn't have happened. So yeah. So stage 4 is depression. By this point, however, you may be able to embrace and work through your emotions in a more helpful manner. You may also choose to isolate yourself from others in order to fully cope with the loss. Like other stages of grief, depression can be difficult and messy. It can feel overwhelming. You may feel foggy, heavy, and confused. So that one's a pretty common one.
And I feel like it all goes down. It all like, I don't know if it actually goes in that.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't. Like, because
So it could
everyone,
just be different.
Yeah, everyone's different. Like, so you could start off with that one.
With
you know?
depression, okay.
Yeah, because, you know, you do get those moments where you just don't want to talk to anyone. You know, like, no, I just need time alone.
For
like,
myself.
To think this through, you know, to comprehend. And the last stage, stage 5, acceptance. So acceptance is not necessarily a happy or uplifting stage of grief. It doesn't mean you've moved past the grief or loss. It does, however, mean that you've accepted it and have come to understand what it means in your life now. So I think that's like where you're like, okay, well, this person is gone and they're not coming back.
Yeah.
You know, like learning to accept that that's the reality. And you know, it may be difficult for a lot of people. Like, I mean, losing a parent is tough.
It is tough.
You know, like,
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to think about
like,
that.
You know, it's unimaginable. But
yeah.
Like, I feel like when you have your own family, like that's what you're thinking about. You know, like you lost a parent, but you have to keep going for your family. You know, for your kids.
Yeah.
You know, you can't stay in like that perpetual state of like sadness, right? Because you have like your children who need you, you know? So yeah, those are the 5 stages.
Okay. So do you want to talk about the verses, or do you want me to talk about mine?
I could talk about them and then we could get into that.
Okay.
So there are some Bible verses about death. Like there's a lot, so I just got like 2 of them that kind of stood out that were interesting. So the first one was from John 11, 25 to 26. So it says Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet he shall live, and everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this? So that was interesting. Cool. You know, like the afterlife. Like there's an afterlife. Yeah. Right? And then the other one is from Ecclesiastes. My bad. Ecclesiastes. So chapter 12 verse 7, and it says, and the dust returns to the earth as it was, and the spirit returns to God who gave it.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a good
That's
one.
pretty interesting.
Yeah, so like,
So,
the
yeah.
two separate
Yeah,
things.
it's like two separate things.
Yeah,
Like,
I like to think about it like a coconut. Like it's got like this exterior, and in the interior it has like water. Like coconut water, and it's two things that are completely like different from each other.
yeah.
And that's what I think about it. Like like your body and then your soul. Like
Yeah.
two separate
And
components.
so I wanted to get into like some aspects of death. I don't, it's kind of, some people believe in it, some people don't, but there's a doctor, he's a, I think he's a neuropsychologist, neurophysicist, something like that. But his name is Dr. Peter Fenwick. Coincidentally, I was doing research and I found him online, and I was, trying, like, reading or listening to his information. And Netflix came up with a series, just aired, I think, on the 6th of January, and it's called Surviving Death. And he comes out in that series.
Oh.
So it's pretty interesting. I did watch like the first episode, and it's cool. Like, so I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit of the paranormal aspect of death, and what his research has found. And so I believe that his research is based off of, what is it called, the the hospice,
Oh,
patients.
yeah. Hospice.
So he said that he started off talking about, that his research, and that he started receiving letters, and he wanted to know what their experiences were. But he did point out that the Dalai Lama wrote that we know we're going to die 2 years prior before it happens. It's an inner consciousness type of situation. I don't think you know that you're going to die, but something, just, you feel something that's going to happen, maybe. But he said that your behavior changes. It's one of the signs, and the other sign is that your breathing changes. I don't know necessarily what that means.
Yeah.
But that's what he wrote. So he also got into talking to some of the hospice patients, and a lot of them were saying that, that he found that dead relatives do visit families. They do visit people that are important to them, like a mother, a father, a spouse, brother, sister. And, it's kind of interesting because right before they die, like, or if they didn't get to see you, they visit you. And one of the ways, that's a comforting way to, like, maybe see a, I don't know, ghost, I don't know.
Yeah.
That they sit on the side of your bed, or they'll talk to you. Some people, like some hospice patients, also said that they would see spiritual beings, like angels, or maybe a family member that would come to, take them, that has passed. So those are some of the things that people said that they saw. And then also they would go in and out of consciousness, to where they would kind of cross over to the spiritual world and then come back, and it can be in dreams, or it can be just daydreaming. But it's kind of like it's he said that it's kind of like your body getting ready to cross over. So I thought that was interesting. Yeah. And then also needing to give. So he said that in order for somebody to get ready for death, you need to accept and be ready to give everything up. Like, kind of, I guess, the unfinished business type of situation, I think. Because he says that, he was saying that when people pass away, some of them will pass away just calmly, or, just peacefully, and other people will kind of struggle a little bit. So he says that that happens when people haven't let go of everything from the world.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow, man, these are all interesting points.
Yeah. And so there's this phenomenon that he talked about that I thought was interesting. It's called the terminal lucidity. And so what that means is that some people even people that have like, let's say people that have been paralyzed, uh people that also have had like Alzheimer's for a long time, he said that right before they die, that they'll like all of a sudden sit up and say goodbye, or they'll sit up and they'll remember their family, if their bedside, like their family's bedside, because they know that they're gonna pass, and they'll get up and remember everybody and say
Wow.
bye and hi, and then they just lay back down and they pass. It's like a phenomenon that has been recorded for a long time. So it's pretty, I thought that was pretty interesting too. Like, I don't know, people that were paralyzed or that had,
Wow.
the Alzheimer's that wouldn't remember anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's almost like you
You know
tap
what's
into that.
yeah, like that. Oh man, these are like interesting points because it reminds me of like one of the patients from the hospice.
Mm-hmm.
She had like dementia. So I think it would only she only would only have like a span of 30 minutes that she would remember, and then she would forget, and then you would start over again. So like she didn't remember anything anymore. She started not remembering anything, but before she passed, she did remember her mom, and she had seen two people. I don't know if it was her grandma or her sister,
Mm-hmm.
but she's like, "Oh yeah, I see them, and they have came for me."
That's interesting
And
because Eileen, like, I think you kind of semi worked at
yeah,
at an
I would kind of spend some time
yeah,
there,
hospice.
and yeah, it's tough. Hospice is tough.
Yeah.
Because like people don't get better. Like,
Yeah,
they're there
that's
to
that's
pass,
what's sad.
and it's tough.
So the other thing is that sometimes, so when you are on the brink of death, like about to die, that there has been instances, and a lot of people actually have reported that they can put off their death to go and visit a loved one
Wow.
at the moment that they're gonna die. So he shared a experience that happened to somebody, but um, he also said that 99% of people that have passed have a feeling of sadness right at the moment that that person dies. So it's kind of like you can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
You can feel it, and or you can have a feeling, or you can have dream the person too. So it's almost most of the people have experienced
Wow.
either seeing their loved one right before they died, or uh, dreaming about them. But he said, for example, he shared a story about a son, and a mother, which the son appeared to the mother in her dreams at night, and he was wet, like his whole body was wet, and he looked at her. He was like standing at the end of the bed, and he told her, "Mom, I'm okay, and everything's gonna be okay," you know.
Wow.
And so she was in Australia, and he was in England. So they were in like total
Wow,
different continents. Yeah.
That's super far
And
too.
so she said that once the time changed, she calls.
Dude,
She
that's
called.
literally from like corner to corner.
Yeah, and she called, and they told her that he had drowned at that exact time that she saw him in the dream.
Wow.
It's crazy, huh? And then 45% of the people that experience that, like the dreams or the visitation, 45% of them, or a percent of the people that they did the study on, didn't know that the person had died. So I guess it's kind of like something that happens. It can happen unexpectedly, or maybe you did expect it, but you weren't there.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't be there. So yeah, other people, like even nurses from the facility, did say that they experienced lights in the room when the person passes.
Wow.
So they experienced lights in the room. They've also seen shapes leaving the body, and smoke, or a mirage that just like
Wow.
that comes out. That's insane. Or a form. So it's pretty interesting. And Yeah, so and then also people have said that that clocks have stopped. Um Animals howl, like your pets feel it, you know? So
Wow.
so that's some of the research that I found.
Yeah.
And I found it interesting, so I was like, yes, I'm going to share that cuz it does happen. So for example, like for our family, our uncle that passed away, so his wife wasn't able to be there, since
Yeah.
everything is, you can't really
Yeah,
be
you
in
can't.
contact. And so they ended up, I guess she said, she went over there to be closer to him, even though she couldn't see him. But the night that he passed away, she said she was asleep and that she felt somebody like touch her hand. And that was something that he would do. Like he would like just kind of like touch her hand,
Yeah.
like before they would go to sleep. So she kind of felt that that was him kind of
Wow.
saying goodbye to her because he couldn't see her. The other experience that she had was after he had already passed.
Yeah.
Um, that she saw from his room, because she was in the house where
Yeah.
he was at the time. And I guess she was saying that the door from his room, that like it was the door was moving, like if
Like the
somebody was trying to
doorknob?
open it. Yeah. And so like that was something pretty interesting too, that
Yeah.
people do experience these um phenomenons, or these weird events after
Yeah.
somebody dies. The other experience, because he was a very good friend to my father, so he kind of, I guess, came to visit. And my
Yeah.
dad said that he kind of like just put his hand on his shoulder at
Yeah.
night, and he's like that was something he would do. So
Yeah.
he
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 would do
kind of
that to
knew
him.
that, he kind of said, okay, I'm pretty sure it was him,
Yeah.
kind of saying goodbye to me. So
Yeah, because he couldn't, like, nobody could have been there, you know what I mean?
yeah, like nobody was able to see
Yeah.
him.
He was
So
isolated.
yeah. So those are pretty interesting events, and so we thought maybe we should look into this, because if this is happening, um, and it not only did was it with him, but even with our grandmother when she
Yeah.
passed, like I dreamed of her, I had dreams of
Yeah.
her, and she was happy and
Yeah.
kind of saying like she was okay, and so I think a few of our family also
Yeah,
had
like,
dreams about her.
yeah, same here. Like, I have as well. Like, I've seen her twice in two dreams.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was a little closer to, not exactly when she passed away, but a little couple years after. I did dream of her, and she gave me a hug, and she was really happy, and I could just feel that.
That she was in a good place.
Yeah, like that positive, like it would just vibrate, that positivity, like it
Mm-hmm.
was just like good. And then I did recently dream of her again, because I was living at another house. That's when we were living at the other house, and when we moved over here, I had another dream of her, and she was here in our living room, and it was like if it was happening, like I came in and I was like, my grandma's here,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, she didn't pass away, like,
Yeah.
and I was just so happy to see her, and I gave her a hug, and she was here talking to my mom, so it just felt real, like it was really happening.
Yeah, like, and I feel like that helps. That helps
It
us to,
does.
like, understand, or kind of feel like some sense of closure, or feel that she's
Yeah.
okay. Um but there's even people that have like near death experiences that have come back. I wanted to touch on that a little bit, because Dr. Peter was saying that sometimes, like, for different cultures or different beliefs, people see different things, right, when they're dying. So people that have comebacks, like the most common one is the light at the end of the tunnel,
Mm-hmm.
or a bright light, maybe spiritual beings. For others, like I think he said somewhere in Asia, where they cross a river, they
Oh
see a
yeah.
river right after when they die, and then they come back. So there's a lot of different, I guess,
Like I feel like it
views.
depends on like what you hold to be the truth of, like, what happens to you after you die,
Yeah.
like your belief system. Like, I think it's all like when you're trying to separate, like, your life here with, like, spiritual, like, like leaving the world, like just trying
Mm-hmm.
to, like, I don't know, create like some
You know,
type of
because
step.
yeah, because for a long time I felt like, okay, maybe we just go to sleep. You know, like when you go to sleep and
Mm-hmm.
you don't dream, it's just a blank or
Yeah.
like dark. That's how I feel like it was. But you know, a lot of other people have very different experiences when they say that, you know, when you die, you actually see things. There's actually your body leaves or your soul leaves your body, or you know, you remember these things, you know,
Yeah.
and so it's kind of like I don't think that's all there is. You
Yeah.
know, I feel like there's definitely
I
more.
mean, I feel like if they can visit you, if people who have passed can visit you, then there's like way more beyond than
What we
just yeah, than
can't
what you think.
comprehend.
Like I feel like it's way more than just, closing your eyes and not seeing anything.
I know.
Like
Yeah.
it's more profound than that, I
It's
feel.
interesting because even sometimes, like when we go to sleep, we dream and we dream of the people that we love. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like, um, I, you know, you remember them. So it's
Yeah.
kind of, so I feel like maybe there's a big possibility that your consciousness still continues after with, along with your soul. Cause, you know, like God said, uh, you know, or I was listening to the it's a radio station that I listened to, Catholic Answers, and they were talking about how, you know, when you pass away, that you're gonna remember your life because that's how you are gonna be judged. And you, if you're gonna be judged for your life, then you must remember it, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like an interesting point.
Yeah, that
So
is an interesting point.
so yeah, so I think that's all we have.
Yeah.
I hope you guys find it interesting as we did.
Yeah, it's a
And
lot
if
of
you guys
interesting
have had
info.
experiences with, you know, people that have passed visiting you or dreams, let us know. That would be awesome
Yeah,
to
we would want to
hear
know.
some stories. But yeah, hopefully we'll see you guys on the next
Yeah.
conversation.
Thank you for watching.
Bye.
Bye.